Hey, what's up? Chad with Eat, Sleep, Nerd, Repeat here with another Diary of a New DM. This past week's session was another straightforward session, and I actually had a really good time running this session because with Curse of Strahd, there's a lot of roleplay in the campaign, and this past session was pretty much all combat. So we had a really good time. To catch you guys up on what happened, our players just delivered the winery from the evil druids, and they got called back to Vallaki by Lady Fiona because she says it's time to rise up and defeat this oppressive burgomaster. So they make their way back to Vallaki. Long story short, they go in to assassinate the burgomaster, and they get bamboozled. Lady Fiona betrays them and basically uses the party as a scapegoat to show the town that the burgomaster could not properly defend their city, and they were lucky now to have her as a leader and all this stuff. So she locks away our party in jail cells. Of course, they escaped the jail, found all their items, or most of them, and went and defeated Lady Fiona in her lair. So that's what happened. My one major point that I have for this week's session really comes in the form of a question. In a previous video, I know I've talked about loot and I've talked about rewards, but let me give you a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about here this time in regards to loot and rewards. So we have a paladin slash fighter who he's a riot of a character. He's really well role played by the player, and he has an intelligence of 8. So he's just kind of dumb funny, very effective in combat, but just kind of simple when it comes to roleplay, and it really provides for a good, colorful character. I heard through the grapevine, actually from another player who plays Anad, our Tiefling Warlock, had mentioned a month or 3 ago, that the player who plays Stellan, the simple paladin, had mentioned that he would like to find something that would grant him more intelligence. So I kind of took Jason's word for it, and after this big boss fight, not only did I let them level up, but I provided a manual of gainful intellect, which is a slight tweak on what you can find in the DM guide. Simple version is, if Stellan studies this manual for a certain amount of time pretty intensely, then he can gain 2 points to his intelligence, which would bring him up to average intelligence. Well, with this, first of all, Stellan cannot read. So he's like, well, I can't read anyways, and I told him, I was like, well, the manual is magical, and it can help you with that. And he was like, well, Stellan doesn't want to become a nerd. So he's like, no, I don't want to read. I don't want to become one of you nerds. I don't want it. So I was a little surprised by this. The book ended up falling to pretty much the last character that I had intended it to fall to, which was Anad, our Tiefling Warlock, who is already vastly overpowered. And he knows this, and his character's goal is to gain more power, so I should have seen this coming. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not bothered by the fact, really, that it went to the player who really needed it least, instead of the player who needed it most, because I've told my players from day one, the way I run D&D, the way I like D&D to be played, or have imagined it to be played at least, is the players can make whatever choice they would like. The players can choose to do whatever they want. Even if I try to set them up with this crazy plot hook that goes into some cool, intricate dungeon with well-thought-out traps and loot and boss fight and everything, if they decide they don't want to do that, then they don't have to do that. And when it comes to loot, when they find loot and rewards, even though I may have specifically tailored it for one person, that person does not have to take or use that piece of loot. So my question would be, how do you guys handle loot? Do you like to lean on the side of rolling on like a random items table or magical items table and do things like that? Do you like to offer tailored rewards? Say you have a rogue in your party, so you want him to have some magical daggers, or, you know, we have Stellan, our paladin, he wields pole arms, so there was one time I had him find a magical glaive or halberd or something. Or do you like to do a mix of both? And if you do, like, what would be your thoughts on specifically a situation like this, where you think a player would really enjoy this thing, this reward, this item that they find as loot, and yet then they turn around and they say, actually, you know what, I'm going to pass on it. How do you guys handle that? What are some ways that you handle divvying out loot or even just end session rewards for your players? Do you like to go more random? Do you like to tailor it out specifically? Because, again, this situation, I wouldn't say it necessarily backfired because I'm not really upset about it. It just did not happen the way that I had pictured or planned, because I had assumed things that I thought to be true, that I thought that this character would want. Anyways, that's pretty much all that happened in this past session. That's the one thing that stuck out to me as what happened. Other than that, like I said, I had a great time running this session. It was a big boss battle. It was fun. I had come up with some homebrew stats for some warlocks for them to fight that belonged to Lady Fiona's cult. And then, of course, fighting Lady Fiona herself. She went down pretty easily. And of course the party didn't have too much trouble with the others as well, but it still made for a fun fight, a long fight, and we had a good time. So anyways, our next session, I believe they are going to try to at least start heading in the direction of Castle Ravenloft because of some business that they want to take care of, but this is not heading towards Strahd purposefully. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll definitely catch you guys up after our next session. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.